One special education teacher was gunned down in the closet of her Katy home in January of 1999. What followed was decades of investigation, trials, and appeals. In the end, former A-Leaf football coach David Temple was convicted of murdering his wife, Katy ISD educator Belinda Temple. This case is the focus of the latest episode of The Evidence Room, our original true docucrime series, streaming tonight at 6:30 right here on KPRC2+. Joining me with a preview of tonight's episode is KPRC2 investigator Robert Arnold. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zach. How are you?
I'm doing well. You know, this was the first case I covered when I moved here in 2021. It was one of his hearings. Yes.
In between his retrial and his retrial of his punishment phase. So it was that strange deal. And for those not familiar, I'll kind of run you down. This was a case that took 24 years to essentially reach a conclusion. So Belinda was murdered in 1999, and the case was largely considered circumstantial. So it took about 6 years before David Temple was finally indicted for his wife's murder. Then the following year, he is convicted. He's in prison. Then in 2016, the Court of Criminal Appeals overturned the conviction, saying that prosecutors withheld evidence from the defense. So then there was a retrial. Well, he was again convicted of murdering his wife, but that jury deadlocked on his punishment. So you had to have a new punishment trial, but then COVID
happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Everything got shut down. You had the backlog. And so it wasn't until April of this year that a third jury was seated to decide David Temple's punishment. And again, that jury also sentenced him to life. So he has been twice convicted of murdering his wife and twice sentenced to life in prison for that crime.
And the hearing I covered was in December of 2021, and that was sort of a big deal because it was really our first time seeing him in almost 2 years.
Correct, because you go from the 2019 retrial where he was convicted, then you have the mistrial, and they hadn't scheduled the other second punishment trial.
What type of evidence exists in this case that we will see in the archives?
So one of the things that we're going to go over tonight, we sat down with Detective Mark Schmidt from the Harris County Sheriff's Office, who worked this case from the night Belinda was murdered all the way through to conclusion. We also sat down with Andy Kahn, who you just met with, because Andy met Belinda's family the day after her murder when he was with the city of Houston, and he has worked to be their spokesperson ever since. So since January of 1999, Andy has spoken on behalf of the family. So we sat down with him, we sat down with Detective Schmidt, and so what we went through was the 911 call that David made when he came home, talking about claiming at that time he found his wife shot. It appears that someone had broken in and tried to burglarize the home. We also go over the evidence of the door, the back door, that David said somebody smashed a glass window out to gain entry to the house. Well, detectives had a problem with the direction the glass was going. So we will go over how that evidence was brought to bear and what was learned and the theory developed about why the glass was going in one direction when detectives pretty much said it should have been going in the other, if what David said was accurate. Then there's the family dog. We go over that. We also go over the crime scene in terms of that initial claim of someone broke in to rob the house. Well, one of the things that Detective Schmidt talked about was burglars, robbers are generally messy. They pull things open, they ransack everything.
It's
so
quick.
The house is just an absolute mess. Well, when they went into the house, drawers were pulled open, but nothing had been rifled through. TV had been pulled off the wall, but it was still plugged in. Jewelry box in the main bedroom. Didn't appear anything was taken. Tray in the main bedroom with David's watch, other jewelry and all still there. So they started questioning, well, if this was really a burglary gone wrong, why is all this stuff still here? And then, of course, we talked to Andy, who really got to know the family very well, about David Temple's affair, which became, according to detectives and prosecutors, the main motivation for murdering his wife, is he was having an affair. And the woman he was having an affair with, he actually did marry 2 years after his wife's death. And one thing you'll hear from Andy tonight that I thought was particularly chilling, and this was backed up by detectives, they got the same information, at Belinda's funeral. Somebody was talking to David. David asked, well, how's Heather doing? That's his mistress. And the person replied, well, don't you want to know who killed your wife? And according to Andy, the response was, why does it matter? She's dead, it won't bring her back. And so we talk about that, and that became a big point in the investigation.
That woman he would go on to marry, as you mentioned, for almost 2 decades.
18 years.
18
yes.
years, yeah.
She divorced him during his retrial in 2019, and she did testify during the trials. She talked about the affair, the time they were together, but she also testified that she and David never discussed Belinda's murder during their entire 18-year marriage. Yeah.
Very fascinating. Okay, our latest episode of The Evidence Room streams tonight at 6:30 right here on KPRC2+.